Women's Six Nations this weekend got underway. Two pretty big wins for the home teams, England over Scotland and France over Wales. Now, if you know this channel, you know women's rugby is one that I've hardly touched on in my time. I'm very much a layperson, I guess, when it comes to following women's rugby. I do know that there are some especially strong teams, which is like kind of a relatively small handful. And then a lot of other teams that are still kind of developing. But yeah, I'll go over these games. It's one thing that's been nice about having a little bit more time on my hands recently is to sit through these games. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get to watch either game in full because the broadcaster over here, Sky Sports New Zealand, they showed them live in full, but I didn't get a chance to see them live. But on demand, they did allow you to watch highlights packages. But fortunately, it was like a full 25-minute package. So I've watched around about an hour all up. So 25 minutes gives you a solid feeling for the game, although you do miss out on a fair bit of the extra stuff. But anyway, I've gone through the stats, had a look through the games, taken some notes. And please feel free to walk me through this one. Like I could quite happily take a lesson in some of the teams, who's people to watch out for, because I could have looked at the lineups and not really, apart from Scarrett, I probably wouldn't have known many of the players on either side. I've probably seen them a bit before because I've seen the Black Ferns play. Even the Black Ferns, I only know a handful of players. So all that out in the open. I'll go through my thoughts and you guys can let me know what you thought about the games as well. So the first one, which was England 50-10 over Scotland. Again, it's kind of first in the world against 11th in the world in terms of the world rankings. And it went like a top tier nation against the second tier nation would probably go. It was pretty dominant from what I saw. The first try did take 9 minutes, but it seemed to be coming for a while. They had to check the grounding from the TMO for Packers try to make it 7-0 early. Riley had a nice little snipe. On 16 for England, a little kind of snipe. She's the scrum half, I believe. A snipe and a step, and yeah, she went over for a try. That conversion, apparently uncharacteristically, hit the posts. So it was a relatively straightforward one, but she did miss that one, Scarrett. 12-0. Interestingly, Scotland on like 23 minutes, first chance down England's end. They opt for 3, and that's probably the sensible thing to do. Because at that point you're still in the ballpark on the scoreboard, right? 12 is not an insurmountable lead, and against a more fancied opposition, it's probably a good idea to take the points when they're on offer, especially when you're not 40 points behind. You don't have to score tries, and if nothing else, it's a preemptive kind of face saver that you're not going to get nilled. It's always nice to get some points on the board. So they took that and they got it to 12-3. That being said, a couple of minutes later, England mauled over. Davis got a try to make it 19-3. So it was a bit of a heartbreaking one because even the commentary team was kind of like, all right, they've got these 3 points. Now they're going to kind of kick off and get back. No. England straight back into the next gear. 35 minutes, some more Scottish turnover ball, and the English just countered and just phased through them. Man, they just went phase after phase. England are really dominant and able to build that kind of pressure. That was Bryony Cleal. I think she's the prop. Bit of a unit. And 24-3. I think she got try of the weekend as well, which was pretty good to see. Props don't often get the recognition in rugby generally, so that was really nice. And at that point, Scotland did get a yellow card to Thompson as well. So they ended up going 15-14, which is not a great thing when you're already 20 points down. Now, right before half-time, and everybody loves a quick winger. Breach, the left winger, she is absolute lightning. She's probably my favourite player on the England side, just having seen 25 minutes of highlights. There's nothing like seeing a winger in open space just tearing up the open ground. She beats multiple defenders on the way to the try line, at least 3. It's a hell of a try. She steps and fends, and she's so quick. 33-3, and that's 7 points they scored during the yellow card. That's half time. Second half gets underway. Roland gets the next try, the fly half, I believe, And it's Breach who sets it up again. She went close, but the Scottish fly half just grabbed one leg and wouldn't let her go. But Breach was able to give the ball off to her teammates, and that made it 40 points to 3. Now that is starting to look pretty nasty. But if you look at the final score, that's on 43 minutes. So for the rest of the game, it's almost a full half. Scotland don't actually concede that many points, although it's normal for teams to kind of take their foot off the gas a little bit once you get up by that much. England weren't helped by their number 8 getting a yellow card for a cynical tap down on 51 as Scotland was starting to build some pressure. And thankfully, they did manage to get a try, like a really feel-good try. Hannah Smith, the centre, got a try. There was a heap of space out that way, but they had the extra woman on the field. So they were determined to take it quickly. The scrum half, I forget her name, Scotland got the penalty. She tried to tap it, and then the ref was like, no, come back and take it from the mark. And then she just tapped it again, and they got the ball out to Smith, so she went over for the try. So yeah, good feel-good try, and that's 7 points they scored during the yellow card. So at that point, it's 40 points to 10. England also then had a second yellow card with what was her name? Davis. It was one where got her around the head, but there's a bit of dipping going on because she's already being tackled by another player. So it's a mitigating factor, red card kind of down to yellow. So at that point, it's 15 on 13 for 3 minutes. And I didn't know the scores. Like, that was kind of good that I'm days late and still hadn't been spoiled to any results. So 3 minutes for Scotland with 2 extra players on the field. But they can't do anything during those 3 minutes. And before the second yellow card is done, Molly Wright gets red carded for Scotland for kind of a swinging arm tackle to the head. It's not a good look. It's pretty much that kind of tackle you see all day long, and it gets red carded. So and sure enough, England went bang bang with the extra the extra player. 2 of them at the end because McMillan got a second yellow card. But a couple of big maul tries from England. The pack was just kind of able to power over. So 52-10. 15 on 13 both ways, which is an unusual one. You don't often see that. The stats, they kind of tell a story. I mean, like possession finishes 53-47, but the territory is 64% England. So it's pretty dominant. England have a couple hundred more run meters, 875 to 615. Clean breaks is 6-0 to England. And defenders beaten is 24-17. Also, their set piece is better, which is to be expected. That kind of top tier team always has the better set piece. 9 from 11, England's line out. 12 from 17, Scotland. England have more offloads, 11-5. So they just overall look the better team, and that's reflected on the scoreboard. But good on Scotland for when they're 40 points down on the board, still fighting back to get a try. I know it's only a consolation, and you don't play the game for consolations, but yeah. Good bit of good fight back. Oldcroft got 17 tackles. She's the number 6, I think, for England. Breach, like I mentioned, 153 run meters, absolutely tearing it up. Nelson had 70 run meters for Scotland and 10 tackles, so good effort from her in a losing effort, in a losing team. But yeah, second game, France against Wales, and Wales did get nilled, unfortunately, 53-0. And unlike Scotland, who at least seemed to have a few flurries down the English end, I didn't see anything of that in the highlights package that I watched. And like I mentioned, it was relatively extensive. But if there was stuff that did go on that wasn't shown, do let me know. Hopefully next time I can actually catch the full game. The French winger, Caroline Bouillard, excuse the French pronunciation, she got a hat-trick within 14 minutes, which is just bonkers. That's madness. She gets the first one on about 2 minutes after Wales' box kick gets charged down, puts them under pressure. And then Wales get turned over in their own 22 about 5 minutes later. So she gets her second try. She pounces. And on 14 minutes, she gets the hat-trick. That's the most impressive try of the game for me, because the passing when the build-up was phenomenal. The hands from the French players was just magic. Offloads and a tip pass at the end galore. It was just phenomenal stuff. 21-0 after 14 minutes, going more than a point a minute, man. It was getting pretty hairy. Half an hour, though, until the next score, and it was a penalty to France. I guess they They took the penalty probably knowing that they had been a bit stilted since their last score, so they wanted to get the scoreboard back ticking over. And it seemed to do the job because 4 minutes later they got a big old maul try to Solskjaer, the hooker, and it's 31-0, half-time, bonus point already secured. Game is pretty much in the bag at that point. The second half's not quite as bad for Wales, because obviously if it was as bad it would have been in the 60s, but they still did concede 20 odd points in that second half. The French had a big old scrum, and Gros got a try on 36 to make it 36-0, and then they did TMO another French try. I thought it was kind of harsh, but it was an on-field no try, so they didn't have enough evidence to overturn it. If you go on to back the attacking team, maybe I would have given it, but again, I need to watch on a clearer TV some of these results. But it didn't matter anyway, because moments later the French scrum pushed them over again. Gros got her second to make it 43-0. Yes, 43-0. Wales, though, to their credit, I know they got nilled, and I don't want to bag them because they are the 9th team in the world and France is 4th, so there's a bit of a gap. They didn't stop fighting. They held up one of the French subs on 74. Then, a minute later, they held up the winger, the same winger, Bouillard. She could have had 4, but she was held up. 2 tries in 2 minutes averted by the Welsh defence. So obviously France is still a bloody class team, and they didn't stop attacking. The Welsh girls weren't just kind of rolling over. 77 minutes, Wales even won a tight head at scrum time, and that's an area they'd been getting punished all game. But interestingly, when they booted it to the French ran it back and scored a try. That was the fullback on debut, and she looked the business. If you hadn't told me she's on debut, I would have had no idea, because she looked proper test ready. That's Boulard. There's a couple of girls with similar names, but yeah. And there was one final maul try to France after there was a Welsh yellow card at the death to make it 53-0. So yeah, bit of a hiding. It kind of makes me want to see England play France at that point, and I'd like to see Scotland play Wales as well, because it seems like based on those scorelines, it'd be more evenly matched. But again, possession finishes 54-46, territory 66-34. So it's just like the England game. It's the territory that's kind of a telling one. Both Scotland and Wales seem to be really stuck down their own half quite a lot. Run meters is a horrendous difference, 1,018 to 395. Again, set piece, line out 16 from 16 France, 9 from 13 Wales. So a few went astray. Tackle busts 38-11. Line breaks 11-1. So yeah, it's just kind of night and day. Offloads 18-1. The French hands were amazing from what I saw. The fullback for France, Boulard, had 140 run meters. She's tearing it up. Vernier, I didn't write her position down. 12 tackles, 3 dominant. Yeah, pretty good effort. Jones got 15 tackles for Wales, but yeah. Long afternoon, or was it evening at the office for that one. But yeah, like I said, man, I'm pretty new to watching women's rugby. What little I have watched previously has always been really enjoyable. And the French game, I think, would have been a fun one to watch in full, especially with those hands. I would have liked to see how the Scottish girls were going down the English end when it wasn't just part of the highlights. But yeah, from what I've seen, obviously very one-sided, so not a heck of a lot of tension, but skill level's good, action good. I would probably like to watch some more. So yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts, and for goodness sake, do give me some tips, man. I need to know who to look out for, who was maybe away, or who's because the commentators were giving snippets of it, but yeah, it was hard to really soak it all in. But yeah, we'll get there. Take care, guys, and yeah, talk to you again soon. See you later.